What if I told you that everything a narcissist thinks about you isn't about you at all? That even when they seem interested, admired, or caring, it's all a reflection of them. Because behind every compliment, question, or gesture lies calculation, judgment, or self-validation. And it will shock you to realize how little you actually matter in their mind. If you want to protect your energy and see the truth behind narcissistic thinking, subscribe. Recognizing how they truly think is the first step in reclaiming your power and freedom. Narcissists rarely think about you in ways that are genuinely caring or compassionate. Their mental energy is almost entirely self-focused, and even when they appear to be attentive, interested, or concerned, it is filtered through their own needs, desires, or insecurities. Every thought about you is ultimately a reflection of them and how you serve their goals, image, or ego. When you imagine that a narcissist is thinking about you in a personal or meaningful way, it is crucial to recognize that this is almost never the case. Their focus is strategic rather than empathetic. They notice your achievements, behavior, and emotions not to support you, but to evaluate how these factors affect their standing, control, or self-perception. They may mentally compare your life, accomplishments, or appearance to their own, measuring superiority or inferiority. Your successes may trigger envy, your confidence may spark insecurity, and your reactions may become data points for manipulation. Even moments that seem like genuine attention are usually tools for maintaining influence or feeding their self-validation. They ask questions, comment, or compliment, not because they care intrinsically, but because your response reflects on them and reinforces their sense of power or desirability. Understanding this is essential because it allows you to detach emotionally and recognize that their mental preoccupation with you is never about you as a person. It is about what you represent in the narcissist's internal narrative. Your energy, reactions, and presence are instruments for them, and recognizing this truth is the first step toward protecting yourself and reclaiming autonomy. Once you understand that narcissists rarely think about you with genuine care, the next step is recognizing the role of comparison and competition in their minds. Narcissists are constantly measuring themselves against others, and you are no exception. Every trait you possess, every accomplishment you achieve, every reaction you display becomes a benchmark in their internal ranking system. They are not interested in understanding you or celebrating your individuality. They are interested in how you reflect on them. In their mind, you are always being weighed. Are you superior, equal, or inferior? If you demonstrate strength, success, or confidence, it may trigger envy or insecurity because it challenges their inflated self-image. If you struggle or show vulnerability, it becomes an opportunity to assert dominance or superiority. This constant comparison isn't casual or fleeting. It is a central lens through which they interpret your behavior and assess their own value. This mindset drives many of their actions. Compliments may feel hollow because they are not about you. They are calculated to manipulate perception. Criticism may sting because it reflects their need to assert superiority and maintain their self-concept. Understanding that narcissists are always in a mode of comparison allows you to see past the surface, to detach from taking their judgments personally. You are not the target of genuine evaluation. You are a measuring stick, a mirror, and sometimes a threat to their fragile self-esteem. Recognizing this is crucial for maintaining perspective and protecting your emotional well-being when dealing with them. Alongside constant comparison, narcissists engage in secret devaluation. Even when they appear to praise you publicly or flatter you in private, their private thoughts often involve criticism, judgment, or belittlement. This is not always overt. It can be subtle, internal commentary that diminishes your achievements, your character, or your worth in comparison to themselves. They maintain a mental hierarchy where they place themselves above others, and in that hierarchy, you are rarely allowed a neutral or equal position. This devaluation serves several psychological purposes. It reinforces their sense of superiority, allowing them to maintain an inflated self-image even if you are successful, confident, or admired by others. It also primes them to manipulate interactions strategically. When they internally belittle you, they feel justified in controlling, provoking, or undermining you externally. They may say something kind or complimentary in public while privately scoffing at your efforts, seeing your accomplishments as insufficient or unworthy. Understanding secret devaluation is crucial because it reveals the true motivation behind many seemingly positive interactions. Compliments may not be genuine, attention may be calculated. Every engagement can be a subtle reinforcement of their own ego rather than recognition of your value. Recognizing this pattern allows you to emotionally detach from their words and behaviors, seeing them for what they are, reflections of insecurity, entitlement, and self-interest rather than objective judgments. When you internalize this truth, you gain clarity and protect yourself from taking their private devaluation personally. Alongside devaluation, narcissists are constantly obsessed with control. Their thoughts about you often revolve around influence, manipulation, and maintaining dominance in the relationship or situation. Even if they appear indifferent or detached, much of their mental energy is focused on calculating how to guide your actions, provoke reactions, or extract validation that reinforces their sense of superiority. They view your emotions, behaviors, and decisions as levers to be pulled to achieve their goals. This preoccupation with control is rarely conscious in the sense of deliberate planning, but it is consistent. They analyze your patterns, predict your responses, and consider the potential outcomes of different interactions. Every compliment you receive, every boundary you set, every independent decision you make becomes a puzzle piece they try to fit into their mental strategy. Their goal is not collaboration or mutual respect. It is dominance and self-serving gain. Understanding this mindset helps you recognize that what may seem like attention, curiosity, or interest is often calculated. They are not engaging with you for your sake, but for the feedback and control your presence provides. This explains why certain behaviors that seem small, a text, a question, or even casual observation, can feel manipulative or emotionally charged. Recognizing that narcissistic thinking is largely strategic allows you to detach, interpret their actions realistically, and avoid falling into patterns of compliance or emotional reaction. Silence, boundaries, and consistent detachment are the most effective ways to disrupt this cycle of control. Alongside their focus on control, narcissists often harbor intense envy and resentment. They are acutely aware of your strengths, achievements, and qualities, and rather than celebrating them, they often experience these traits as threats to their fragile self-image. Your successes, confidence, or happiness can trigger feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, and subtle hostility. They measure your accomplishments not as neutral milestones, but as benchmarks that challenge their sense of superiority. This envy is rarely overt. Publicly, they may compliment or feign admiration, masking their private resentment. Internally, however, they may belittle your efforts, dismiss your achievements, or replay moments where you have outshone them. This mix of fascination and resentment drives many of their behaviors, from subtle sabotage to manipulation designed to keep you in your place and maintain the upper hand psychologically. Resentment also fuels their strategic thinking. When they perceive something admirable in you, they may plot ways to reclaim dominance. By undermining your confidence, controlling your access to others, or eliciting validation that recenters attention on them. Even your happiness or contentment can be viewed as a reflection of what they lack, intensifying envy and motivating manipulative behavior. Recognizing the role of envy and resentment in a narcissist's thought patterns is critical. It reveals that what seems like interest, attention, or even friendliness is rarely genuine. Their preoccupation is never about your well-being. It is about their comparative advantage and self-image. Understanding this allows you to detach emotionally and protect yourself from being caught in their invisible power plays, seeing their thoughts for what they truly are, reflections of insecurity, jealousy, and self-interest. Even though narcissists devalue, manipulate, and feel envy toward you, they are often intensely fascinated and curious about you. This curiosity isn't rooted in admiration or genuine interest. It's strategic and self-serving. They want to understand your thoughts, behaviors, habits, and vulnerabilities because every detail can be used to maintain influence or protect their ego. Your life, actions, and choices become a source of information, a way for them to predict, control, and manipulate outcomes that benefit them. This fascination can be subtle or persistent. They may watch how you interact with others, note your strengths and weaknesses, or mentally catalog your reactions to various situations. Even traits they secretly envy or resent become points of obsessive attention. In a sense, they treat you as a puzzle to be solved, not because they care, but because knowing you gives them leverage and reassurance that they can assert dominance if needed. Understanding this curiosity is important because it explains why narcissists often appear interested in your life while remaining detached or emotionally unavailable. Their focus is not on forming a genuine connection, it is on gathering data to maintain control and self-validation. Every compliment, question, or seemingly innocent interaction is filtered through a lens of strategy rather than empathy. Recognizing this pattern allows you to see past appearances and avoid misinterpreting their fascination as genuine care. It reinforces the importance of boundaries and detachment. By maintaining emotional distance, you prevent them from using their curiosity to manipulate, control, or undermine your autonomy, protecting both your energy and your sense of self. Beyond fascination, narcissists constantly use you for self-validation. Every interaction, every reaction, and every response you give serves as a mirror reflecting back to them what they want to see about themselves. Your admiration, compliance, or attention becomes evidence that their inflated self-image is intact. Your successes, confidence, or even disagreements are interpreted through the lens of how they impact their ego, rather than as reflections of your character or achievements. This reliance on others for validation is central to narcissistic thinking. Because their self-esteem is fragile and contingent on external feedback, they monitor and interpret your behavior obsessively. A compliment you give may be mentally cataloged as proof of their superiority, while a refusal or boundary may trigger self-doubt and strategizing. Your emotional energy becomes a tool to maintain their sense of worth. They do not validate themselves through introspection or self-reflection. Instead, they rely on your reactions as a constant source of affirmation. Understanding this dynamic is essential for protecting yourself. Recognizing that their focus on you is less about who you are and more about how you make them feel allows you to detach emotionally. It explains why flattery, attention, or even conflict can feel so consuming. It is all feeding their need for ego reinforcement. By maintaining boundaries and emotional distance, you deprive them of this constant mirror, forcing them to confront the limits of their control and reducing the power they hold over you. Awareness of this pattern is key to reclaiming autonomy and emotional resilience. Finally, narcissists think about you in ways that are highly strategic. Their thoughts are rarely spontaneous or emotional in the sense that most people experience concern or curiosity. Instead, they constantly evaluate how your presence, reactions, and behaviors serve their goals, whether that's maintaining status, extracting admiration, or controlling perception. Every interaction is mentally assessed for potential leverage, and they plan future moves based on what will benefit them the most. This strategic thinking can appear subtle or even invisible at first. They may ask questions, observe patterns, or engage in seemingly casual conversation, but each of these actions is filtered through the lens of self-interest. They consider what you can provide, how your behavior reflects on them, and which tactics might elicit the most favorable outcome. Their mental energy is focused less on understanding you as a person and more on predicting, influencing, or manipulating outcomes to reinforce their ego and maintain dominance. Recognizing this pattern is crucial for understanding narcissistic behavior. It reveals that even gestures that seem thoughtful, curious, or supportive may be calculated. Their preoccupation with you is rarely about genuine care. It is about maintaining advantage. By seeing their thinking in this light, you can detach emotionally, interpret interactions realistically, and avoid falling into patterns of compliance or reaction. Strategic awareness allows you to protect your boundaries, maintain autonomy, and respond in ways that do not feed their ego or reinforce their control. Understanding this final aspect of narcissistic thinking completes the picture. Everything they think about you is ultimately self-serving, calculated, and designed to maintain their fragile sense of superiority. Here's the truth. Everything a narcissist thinks about you is filtered through their own needs, insecurities, and self-interest. Even when they appear charming, attentive, or complimentary, it is rarely about you. Your achievements, reactions, emotions, and boundaries are not valued for their own sake. They exist in the narcissist's mind as tools, mirrors, or benchmarks to reinforce their ego, maintain control, and protect a fragile self-image. Understanding this is crucial because it allows you to detach emotionally and see interactions clearly without distortion. From constant comparison to secret devaluation, from manipulation and control to envy and obsession, the narcissist's mental preoccupation is always self-serving. They analyze your behavior, assess your influence, and strategize ways to keep you within their sphere of control. Even their fascination, curiosity, and outward interest are rarely genuine. They are calculated efforts to gather information, provoke reactions, or maintain dominance. Your presence becomes a mirror reflecting back to them what they wish to see about themselves, rather than a recognition of your true value. Recognizing this reality allows you to reclaim power. Boundaries, emotional detachment, and awareness are your tools to prevent them from exploiting your energy. Their thoughts, judgments, and strategies only hold sway if you allow them to. When you stop feeding their ego and stop internalizing their private calculations, you free yourself from manipulation, control, and emotional drain. Ultimately, seeing the narcissist for what they truly think and why empowers you to protect your autonomy, preserve your self-worth, and navigate the relationship on your own terms.